Help then, O Lord, our unbelief, and may our faith abound, to call on you when you are near and seek where you are found, that when our life of faith is done, in realms of clearer light, we may behold you as you are, with full and endless sight. Amen. So I think it was my junior year of college. I can remember one night sitting around a fire in the backyard of my fraternity house. And I got into one of those intense intellectual conversations that one has in that season of life. You know when there's someone you respect and care about, but also who just always seems to get under your skin? Well, this conversation, you might say, was one of those folks for me, and I likely the same for him. My friend, who I won't name because everything these days is recorded and people watch more than you might think, my friend was a philosophy major and a very proud and loud atheist, and I was not a proud and loud atheist even then. Well, back and forth we went, lodging different arguments and considerations about the reality of God. And as the temperature of the fire and of the conversation seemed to rise, more and more folks started to come around to hear this rather intense conversation that was happening. And as more and more people came, it sort of reached a crescendo when the friend of mine said, "I don't believe in anything that I can't prove. So prove it, Will. Prove that God is real and not a delusion of our society." And I can remember in that moment sort of putting aside all of my intellectual learnings and arguments and more rational things and perhaps more polite ways of talking. And I retorted back, "Do you love your girlfriend? Prove it." And that sort of ended the conversation there. I later apologized, and we kissed and made up, and all was well. The reality is, for all of us in times of our life, we all wish that we could prove it. And we all wish and long for certainty, whether it's the reality of God or the reality that harm won't come to those we love. Each of us reaches points in our lives when we are a lot like our friend Thomas, who we encounter every year the Sunday after Easter Sunday. Because all Thomas is seeking is an encounter. Wouldn't we want that? An encounter with something and someone who is real. He's heard these tales from his friends that Jesus has been raised, and he wants to see it and feel it for himself. He wants to believe. He wants to trust. He wants to hold fast to this truth of life so that his life might be changed. You notice that when I talk about belief, I also talk about trust and holding fast, because the best translation of what we get in English as believe are those words. We're so conditioned in our world by the Enlightenment and thinking that this is about intellectual assent. Those arguments I was having with my philosophy major friend, they were all intellectually based, rational, which is all good. We like reason and intellectual curiosity in this tradition. But there is something deeper than that, not negating it. And we hold here in deep and real ways that the resurrection is real. And we also affirm that without any shred of scientific proof, with no ironclad theory that is resistant to doubt or skepticism. There always will be wondering, always room for doubts, and always room for us who wish to encounter this Jesus for ourselves, as Thomas seeks this morning. The great 20th century theologian Paul Tillich was famous when he said, "The opposite of faith is not doubt. The opposite of faith is certainty. It's almost as if to have faith, to trust, to hold fast in anything profound, anything worth believing in, it can't be certain. When I piped up, perhaps snarkily to my friend around that fire, that if he loved his girlfriend, he ought to prove it, I knew that that was impossible, and that was the point. And I think my friend did as well. To be able to reduce something as profound and serious as love or faith to something provable, something driven entirely by logic and reason, does seem to lessen the very thing it is. Our tradition teaches that mystery is a word to talk about something deeply true. And we hold that mystery is not a cop-out from our minds. We don't believe in mystery because we want to leave our minds at the door, but because it's a testament that there are even deeper truths which undergird our intellectual life. When Jesus says this morning to Thomas, "Have you believed because you have seen me? Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have come to believe," I hope you know he's talking to you and to me. Because he's not denigrating Thomas, because he gives Thomas the gift that Thomas is asking for, but the gift Jesus promises is that those who will come after, all of those through the centuries, like you and me, because we will come to know Jesus in a deeper and more mysterious way, it will be an even more real and lasting truth. And it's also about all those deeper things of our lives, that they might be more true. Knowing that Jesus is raised helps all of us believe and trust deeper in the most important things of our life. That's why the resurrection matters, not because it proves some theory that's incapable of being teared down by folks who might disagree with us. Jesus is raised, and that has changed everything. And every week, even this week after Easter Day, you and I come here to have an encounter. We're in many ways seeking the very thing Thomas was asking for. And we get that gift every week in the mystery, the deep truth of Jesus' own presence in the body and blood of communion. And that is not meant to be simply a prize we gain for our personal salvation. No, it is meant to change our lives every day, to remind us of what really matters, to remind us that Jesus is with us in a deep and real and profound way. And that is meant to be the well from which we draw strength for all of the deep truths of our lives. We receive Jesus weekly so that our love might be deeper. We receive Jesus weekly so that our faith might be stronger and our trust that God's presence in our lives is real and will carry us through whatever comes our way. May the risen Christ be our guide this day and always. Amen.